arrived at Odinaka's house with her heart pounding with urgency. She did not bother to sit properly before she blurted out, "You cannot marry that Chisom girl, Odinaka. You must end whatever plans you have in mind and the proposal you intend," she said to him. Odinaka looked at her with a frown. "Lucy, what is the problem? Why did you say so?" he asked. "I just found out she can never have children. I heard she was brutally raped and it affected and damaged her womb," Lucy told him. Odinaka's face darkened and he was silent for a moment when he heard what Lucy just told him. Lucy went on. "See, I like Chisomo, I do. But you need to think about what you want. You want children, a son more importantly, don't you? You know it is important for you too. So why waste your time on someone who may never give you that?" she said. Odinaka took a deep sigh and then asked, "Are you sure about this?" Lucy nodded her head affirmatively. "Dimma told me," she said. Odinaka burst into laughter when he heard Lucy said Dimma had told her so. "And you believed her?" he asked, still laughing. Lucy frowned and was angry that Odinaka is not taking this seriously when he should actually be doing so. "Odinaka, this is serious," she said. Odinaka told her that if it came from Dimma, then it was going to be hard for him to believe it. "You know quite well that Dimma girl likes me. So it is possible that she told you this with the hope that you will convince me and I will lose interest in Chisom," Odinaka said. Lucy shook her head. "No, she didn't tell me. I heard it myself when she muttered it. She didn't even want to tell me at first, but I persisted and begged her to. She looked so worried and said her conscience wouldn't let her keep quiet," Lucy said. Odinaka sat still, thinking if he should believe this or not. "See, bro, I know you have a little likeness for Chisom, but whether Dimma is lying or not, this is not something you want to gamble. And you know this so well. After all, the actual reason why you want to marry again is so you would have an heir. So don't jeopardize this. Don't jeopardize the wealth and opportunity God has blessed us with," Lucy said. "Better be safe than to be sorry," she added. What she said sounded more like a warning, some sort of a reminder about an important decision Odinaka has to consider. Odinaka sighed and thought that Lucy was right after all. Either Dimma was right about Chisom or not, it was something he shouldn't gamble because it was necessary for him to have an heir. It is his cross, his curse, and he must carry and bear it. And so, Odinaka stopped pursuing Chisom. He even stopped going to the lounge. After all, he wouldn't be marrying her anymore. So, why should he get to see her? He said to himself. And Chisom noticed that Odinaka had stopped pursuing her. She didn't know why, not like she cared anyway. If there was anything she was grateful that he stopped. And meanwhile, Dimma got to find out from Lucy that Odinaka was no longer interested in Chisom. She was very happy that her plan worked. Then, she decided that her next plan is to position herself around Odinaka and do everything possible to get him to want her and marry her. And she said to herself that the best way to achieve this was to be closer to Lucy, much more than before. She used food again as a strategy. She continued cooking and would take some to Lucy. "I made delicious ofe onugbu soup. I could bring some to you if you don't mind," she would say. Or, have you tasted my jollof rice? Trust me, you would like it and would never eat another. I could bring some to you if you care for some. And Lucy, who was already naturally always lazy to cook, welcomed Dimma's offer. Soon, they became quite close. One day, Odinaka visited Lucy's place, and Lucy served him some from the Ofionubu soup Dimma had brought the previous day. Odinaka also liked the soup when he tasted it. Dimma made it, Lucy told Odinaka. But Odinaka was silent and made no comment about what she said. Why not marry Dimma? Lucy said, after a long silence between them. It will be easy because she likes you already, Lucy added. She went ahead and gave him more reasons to convince him. She told Odinaka that it would be easier for him to make Dimma do whatever he wants because she likes him already and would do anything to marry him and to enjoy his wealth. And you would also get the heir you seek. Her desperation is to your advantage, Lucy said, giving a last point. Odinaka thought about it for a while and agreed that Lucy was right. And so, he made up his mind and decided he was going to marry Dimma. Dimma couldn't contain her joy the next day when Lucy took her to Odinaka's house and Odinaka asked her to marry him. She went home, told her mother, and boasted about it before Chisom. Though Chisom was not even pained, she was rather happy for Dimma that she got the man she wanted. The few weeks that led to their marriage, Odinaka spoiled Dimma. He took her to expensive places for shopping, and Dimma ensured that she picked as much nice and expensive clothes, bags, jewelries, and other things as she could. Even her mother got tired of being shown the things Odinaka bought for her on a daily basis. Dimma, won't you slow down? If you buy all this now, what happens when you eventually get married? You will fill your husband's house with clothes and jewelries, her mother said to her one evening. Well, Odinaka and Dimma got married. It was a traditional ceremony. Odinaka refused that they had a civil court wedding when Dimma requested it. I am a traditional man, and everything about our marriage must remain traditional, he told Dimma. And Dimma agreed that she was okay with it if that was what Odinaka wanted. Then, after their marriage ceremony, Odinaka took Dimma to a village he claimed that she had to get to and perform some rituals before she could enter his home as his wife. Now, though the place was a village, Dimma noticed that it was developed and was more like a town. Odinaka took her into a house, and the house was so beautiful and the old building looked more like a palace. When they entered into the house, Odinaka held Dimma by the hand and led her to an old native man who was already waiting for them in the house. She is the one who would represent Adaeze here on earth, Odinaka said, introducing Dimma to the native man. Dimma was confused and wondered what Odinaka meant by she's the one to represent an Adaeze here on earth. Who is Adaeze and why is she representing her? And what for? She wondered. She opened her mouth to speak and to ask questions, but Odinaka ordered her to not utter any word. Well, the medicine man led them to a river after ordering his female helper to help Dimma change into an all-white wrapper. And at the river, the medicine man bathed Dimma's head while he uttered some incantations. Dimma could not recall what happened after that, as she fell into an unexplainable deep trance. But she woke up the next morning and found herself on the bed in one of the rooms in the house. While she was still trying to figure out all that happened at the river and how she got to the room, Odinaka walked into the room, threw a dress at her, and asked her to put it on so they could start heading back to the city. And though the dress looked quite okay, Dimma was not comfortable wearing a dress she didn't know where it came from. She tried saying that she came with her own clothes and would only wear her own clothes, but Odinaka yelled at her and ordered her to wear the dress, and Dimma obeyed. On their way back to the city, Dimma, who was still trying to figure out what kind of ritual she was made to experience, felt somewhat relieved as she thought that her nightmare was over. But little did she know that it was just the beginning. Odinaka packed all of Dimma's clothes into a large polythene bag and asked his gatesman to go discard them when they got home in the city. "These are the clothes you would be wearing from henceforth," Odinaka said to Dimma, showing her some clothes in his wardrobe. Dimma stared at him, confused. She went closer to check the clothes, but realized that they had all been worn, even though they looked okay and expensive. The smell from the clothes clearly indicated that they had all been worn. "Whose clothes are these? And why did you want me to wear them and not my own clothes?" Dimma managed to ask. "These clothes belongs to my first wife, Adaeze, and you'll be wearing them henceforth because you now represent her here on earth," Odinaka replied. Dimma nearly collapsed. "Did you say your first wife? You were married?" she asked, with sudden shock and disbelief. "Yes, I was married. Now stop asking questions. I want to see you only in Adaeze's clothes henceforth," Odinaka ordered. A few years ago, a young, struggling poor man met and fell in love with a beautiful young woman called Adaeze. This man was Odinaka. Yes, Odinaka hadn't been rich, but Adaeze was. Adaeze wasn't just some rich girl or an ordinary girl. She was a princess of a great and wealthy town, and the only surviving child of her father, the king. Adaeze once had two brothers, but they died with her mother in a plane crash. Adaeze's father couldn't bear children anymore, so he decided that any man who would marry his daughter Adaeze would remain in the palace, and that the first son that they would have would take on his name and would be his heir and rule after him. Before he died, he made Adaeze swear to an oath that she would do this. When Odinaka fell in love with Adaeze, she told him about her father's desire, which she had sworn an oath to. "If you marry me, the first son we would have would be my father's son and would rule instead of you," she told him. And Odinaka was so in love with Adaeze and so obsessed with her that he agreed to whatever she said or whatever condition that was placed before him, so he could be with her. "Even if our second son would also have to take on your father's name, I do not care, so long as I get to be with you. Moreover, it is a great privilege to have my offspring rule after your father," Odinaka told Adaeze, so he could just be with her. And so they got married. However, months later, Adaeze, who was pregnant with their first child and who was said to be a boy, died during childbirth, both her and the baby. On her deathbed, and before she gave up the ghost, she made Odinaka swear and promise her that he would not let her father's name go extinct. That he was going to have a son and go along with the plan of making the son take on Adaeze's father's name. And Odinaka swore and agreed to this. Odinaka mourned Adaeze greatly for years. He was so in love and obsessed with her that he couldn't look at any other woman let alone loved one. He kept all of Adaeze's belongings with him, and every day he would hold tightly some of her things for hers and would cry and say, I miss you, my Nkem. Oh, I miss you. Twice he had attempted to take his life because he claimed that he couldn't live without Adaeze. But Lucy had stopped him and reminded him about the promise he made to Adaeze. Do you think your Ada would forgive you if you die and not fulfill hers and her father's wish? Lucy had said to him. Besides, the chief priest of Adaeze's town began asking Odinaka for the son who would be the heir and take over the throne, because Adaeze told them that Odinaka would provide the heir. And so, that was why Odinaka decided to get married again. Not for love, not for companionship, but someone to help him fulfill his beloved Adaeze's wish. But he had said in his heart that if there was going to be any woman who would live with him in his house as his wife, that woman would not only bear him an heir for Adaeze, but must look and act like Adaeze. Because to him, that woman would only be a representation of his real wife, Adaeze, who had gone to be in the spirit world. And so, Dimma is being forced to look like Adaeze, Odinaka's first and late wife. But I have my own clothes. Even the one you got for me all the time you took me shopping. They are still there. I've not even worn some. Dimma said to Odinaka. Why did you buy all those clothes for me when you know you won't allow me wear them? Dimma asked. Well, that is because I want you to enjoy that while it lasted, Odinaka replied. Just be a good wife and do whatever he tells you, Lucy said to Dimma when Dimma called her to complain about it and for not being told that Odinaka had been married before. And so, Dimma lived in the shadow of a dead woman. Odinaka made her wear Adaeze's clothes, nightwears, undies, jewelries, and every other thing Adaeze used. Odinaka even barely touched her, but when he did, he would call her Adaeze's name. Oh, my Adam, my Nkem, I have missed you, he would say. Tears and sorrow became Dimma's companion. Every day, she would cry and cry. And she couldn't even tell her mother because Odinaka forbade her from calling or visiting her mother on her own. He seized her mobile phone and only let her use the landline phone in the house to make calls, which he monitored. He took her himself to her mother's place occasionally. To her mother and the outside world, Dimma appeared okay. And sometimes they would tease her. Big man's wife. Look at how you are glowing and shining. Look at your expensive clothes and jewelries. And they would say. Dimma would cover up with a smile. Only if they knew what she was going through, she would say in her heart. She was too ashamed to speak up about what she's experiencing because she knew she had made so much noise and boasted about marrying Odinaka. And then, whenever she sees Chisom, she would sigh and say within her, so, this is the life I betrayed Chisom for. Anyway, the years spanned fast and it became 4 years already that Dimma had been married to Odinaka. She had even given birth to 2 children, but they were both girls. And Odinaka was already losing his patience. I hope this baby you are carrying this time around is a male child, because if not, you would not like what I would do to you. Or do you want my Nkem to be angry where she is? He told Dimma in the 5th year when she became pregnant again. Meanwhile, Chisom had also gotten married. She met a good-looking young man called Yomi, who was a successful engineer. Yomi loved and adored Chisom. He opened a big eatery outlet for her where she sold intercontinental dishes. And when Chisom became pregnant, she had twin boys. Odinaka was furious with Dimma when he learnt that Chisom became pregnant just within the first year she got married and now has 2 boys. You liar and scheming woman. You lied about Chisom. Don't worry. You don't just bet a boy first. You will see what I will do to you, he said. Well, Dimma gave birth to the 3rd child, and it was also a girl. Odinaka Sanga rose to its peak when he was told the baby's gender in the hospital. He stormed into the ward to meet Dimma and began shouting at her, not minding that they were in the hospital. The doctors and nurses who were around tried to calm him down and educate him about chromosomes and a father's role in determining the sex of a child, but Odinaka ignored them. I know this very well, he said, but this woman here is an evil woman with bad luck, and that is why my Y chromosome can't find its way into her womb, he said. And so, Odinaka refused to touch or have anything to do with his daughters. Dimma was only lucky that at least he gave them money to feed. And as the months spanned fast, Dimma decided to accept her fate. She concluded that she brought whatever she was experiencing with her own hands. So, she stopped crying and tried to stay happy and strong for her daughters. She also found a new friend at the salon down their streets, where she occasionally goes to get her hair done. So every morning, after dropping her daughters off at school, she would go to the salon to gist with her new friend and to while away time until it was time to go pick up her daughters from school. This helped her to momentarily forget her sorrows. But Odinaka noticed that Dimma was now often away from the house and would not even cry whenever he did the bad things he used to do to her before. And so one day, when she came back home, he got furious, took gasoline and set her car on fire. Sure, it is because I allow you to drive this car. You think you can go out whenever you like. I blame myself anyway for allowing you have access to one of my cars. You that can't even give me an ordinary male child like every other woman out there does for their husbands. It is my car. I gave it to you, so I will burn it, he said, as he angrily sets the car ablaze. Dimma realized that Odinaka hadn't just lost his first wife, but he was a psycho. After all, he just behaved like one, or had actually been behaving like one, for trying to make and turn her into his dead wife. She wept for long, but again accepted that it was her fate. After all, she was already getting used to wearing his late wife's clothes. Secondly, she said to herself that Odinaka is at least sending her daughters to good schools because Lucy made him do so. So, she decided she was going to enjoy it all till her daughters are all grown. It would take years, but I would try, she said to herself. And so, Dimma lived the life of a dead woman, all because of her jealousy and scheme. Whereas Chisom lived happily with her husband and her children. It is said that bad things happen to bad people and good things to good people. Who knew? Maybe if Dimma had not lied against Chisom, Chisom may have finally succumbed to Odinaka's persistence and would have been the one to suffer Dimma's ordeal. But she got saved. The end. So lovelies, what do you think about the story? I hope you enjoyed it, by the way. Share your thoughts with me in the comments. You know I would love to hear them. And don't forget to support me by liking this video and share to your loved ones. I'll see you again in my next story. Bye.